So, welcome everybody. We'll get started by laying on our back and a couple of yoga props that you might want to have nearby. If you have a yoga strap or a belt or anything like this, you can have that within arm's reach. And then I'm going to be using a sandbag at the beginning of the class, but if you don't have one, likely you don't, not a lot of us have them at home, you can take a blanket or a towel and fold it over so you've got something about this size that can sub in for the sandbag. And other than that, we don't need anything right now. So everything else can go out of the way. The other thing to note is that we need some space for our arms to move. So up at the top of your mat, try to leave some space around the top of your mat. So if your props are right here, just move them off to the side. Okay, and when you've found a comfortable position on your back, feel free to grab anything that would help you be comfortable here, like a pillow or a blanket under your head or your knees. And then just relax your arms. Allow the back of your body to just settle into the support of the ground. And begin to arrive right here in this moment, feeling yourself lying down, feeling the ground beneath you. And then bring your attention inwards. Take a few moments to just check in with yourself. Simply notice how you feel right now. And do your best to notice without any kind of commentary or critique. Just see what's here when you pay attention. And now bring that same attention to the movement of your breath. Just getting really quiet to tune in and follow the flow of inhales and exhales. And now tune in a little bit more. See if you can pay attention to where you feel the movement of your breath the most prominently. And it might be at your nostrils, it might be at your chest, it might be at your belly. No right answer, just notice what you notice. And now you can grab your sandbag or folded blanket. Or if you don't have any of these, you can just use your hands. We're going to bring the prop or your hands onto your chest. And now just continue to breathe. And you can bring a little bit more attention to your chest where your prop or your hands are resting. And just tune into the movement that you might notice here. A sense of rise and fall with your inhales and exhales. And when you're ready, bring your prop or your hands down to your belly. And we'll do the same thing here, tuning in to notice any movement that you can sense at your belly. Okay, and when you're ready, set the prop off to the side. Let your arms relax wherever they're most comfortable. And take a couple more breaths to just notice how everything feels now. All right, let's start into some movement. So, first, just bring your arms and your legs up towards the ceiling and just give them a nice full shake. And then bring your legs down. I like to have my knees bent and my feet on the floor, but you can be in whatever way is comfortable for you. And then, if you have a strap or a belt, you can grab that. And we're just going to hold it in our hands like this. So, I always like to double my strap over, but you can do whatever works for you as long as you don't have strap kind of dangling down towards your face. Nice. And with your hands kind of shoulder width distance apart, something like that, let them be fairly straight, hands facing up towards the ceiling or your knuckles, probably if you're holding the strap. And allow your shoulder blades to settle down onto the ground. And now we're just going to do a tiny lift and lower here. So just lift your hands and your arms up towards the ceiling, enough that you feel your shoulder blades coming away from the ground a little bit, and then set them right back down. And let's try that a couple of times. Just a teeny tiny movement. But can you make this movement nice and easeful so that you're not adding too much tension to your neck or the top of your shoulders to find this movement? Just looking for a soft movement, kind of even from side to side. And then let your arms be still. Take a breath. Now we'll try another movement here. This time, just bring your arms up overhead a bit. Try not to go so far that your ribs pop off the ground. Just see how far you can lift your arms without that happening. And then we'll lift and lower this way. And if you like, you can go with the rhythm of your breath here. I like to lift my arms up overhead with the exhale and then bring them back to the starting place with the inhale. See what works for you. And just allowing your rib cage and the back of your head, your whole torso to stay nice and still, connected to the ground. And then we'll let this one go. You could set the strap off to the side, keep it nearby, and take a moment to just pause. Breathe easy, notice how you feel. And now bring your arms into a T position out to the sides with your palms facing up. And we're going to do some snow angel arms here. So just trace your fingers along the ground, bringing your arms up overhead. And at any point that it feels more natural to lift your hands off the ground, please do that. And we'll go up and down a few times, just as if you're making some great big snow angels on the ground. And let this one go as well when you're ready. Take a moment to move or stretch any way you'd like now. And then come on back to stillness for one breath. Okay, and now gather your knees in towards your chest. Hold on with your hands, or you can use your strap and your hands if you'd like. And just give yourself a bit of a hug, maybe rocking side to side. Okay, and now let one leg go. Keep one knee in towards your chest. And we're just going to kind of move our knee in circles a few times. So moving it out to the side and then drawing away from you and around and back in towards your belly. And try that a couple of times. Nice. Come on back to stillness. Just hold on to the back of your thigh for a moment and stretch your leg up towards the ceiling. Okay, let's switch sides. Same thing. Hugging the other knee in, doing a few of those nice circles. And then let it go. Stretch your leg up for a moment and bring your foot back down. Nice. Bring your arms up by your sides. Walk your feet a little farther away from you, a little bit wider apart, and just let your knees kind of drop from side to side like windshield wipers. Okay, come on back to center. Just make your feet comfortable here. And now, if you've got a strap, we'll grab that again. Not necessary, but nice to have. And what we're going to do is stretch one leg up towards the ceiling. And if you have a strap, you can bring it around the bottom of your foot like this. And if you don't, you're welcome to just hold on to the back of your thigh. Okay, and if you've got the strap, make sure you're holding it so that your shoulders aren't holding a lot of tension. See if you can use the whole length of the strap so that your shoulders and maybe even your elbows can be on the ground. And once you're here, just flex your foot and reach your heel up towards the ceiling, looking for a little bit of stretch on the back of your leg. See if you notice that. And just breathe, keep reaching up through your heel. And your leg doesn't have to be all the way up here like mine. You can be down here like this. You can have a little bit of a bend in your knee, whatever works for you. And then soften. And if you're using a strap, bring both sides of the strap into the same hand as leg. And the other hand could just rest on your hip bones on the other side. And now we're going to do some rotations. So think about rotating along the center line of your leg as if that's your axis you're rotating around. And just rotate the whole leg in and out. And try that a few times. Think about this movement coming from your hip joint, not from your knee or your foot. Just picture your upper leg bone rotating in your hip socket. And the other hand on your hips can notice if your hips want to shift around with this movement. If that's the case, make your leg movement smaller so that you can just isolate it to just the leg moving, not your hips, not your spine. And the next time you come into external rotation with your toes pointing out, pause there. And then we're just going to move our leg out to the side a bit. Use the strap for support if you have it. If not, you can put your elbow on the ground and support your leg with your hand like this. Let's take a breath or so here. And then come all the way back up. You could set the strap off to the side, give your leg a little shake out. Okay, and then you can bring your leg down, take a break anytime you need, but we're gonna do one more movement with the leg up. And I'm just holding on to the back of my leg for this one. We're just gonna move our foot at the ankle joint. So flex your foot again so that your heel's reaching up, your toes are drawing down, and then point. So your toes are pointing up to the ceiling, and just go back and forth a few times. Just give your ankle a little bit of love. Let's do some circles with that ankle. And then let it go. Bring your foot back down. Maybe you'd like to stretch your legs out here. Just have a bit of a full body stretch. And then come on back to stillness and just tune in to notice how your hips and your legs feel now. All right, let's do all of that on the other side. So, with or without your strap, bring the other leg up. Once you've got your strap in place or you've got a good hold on your leg with your hands, just flex your foot like your toes pull down towards the ground, reach your heel up towards the ceiling. Or if you're here, you can just reach your heel away, whatever actually works for you. And breathe here. If you notice a bit of stretch on the back of your leg, you can picture sending your breath there, bringing some softness. And then let this one go. Soften a little bit. Bring the strap over to same hand as leg. The other hand can come to rest on your hip bones. Let's try a rotation on this side. Again, picturing that movement coming from your hip joint. Just a simple rotation. Now try to let all of the rest of your body stay nice and quiet and still. And then bring your leg into external rotation, toes pointing out to the side. Use the strap or your hand for support as you bring your leg out to the side. And just a couple of breaths here. And bring it back in. Nice. Set the strap away. Give your leg a little bit of a shake. Maybe you want to bring it down for a moment. It's up to you. And when you're ready, we'll do that ankle movement on this side. Point and flex to start out with, and some circles. Okay, bring it back down. Have a bit of a wiggle or a bit of a stretch. Just see what you would like here. And then bring your knees in towards your chest again. Have a little bit of a hug, maybe a bit of a rocking movement. And as you come back to center, bring your big toes to touch. Place your hands onto your knees, and we'll do some hip circles here with our knees moving in opposite directions. So move them out to the sides, away from each other. Keep your big toes together, and just circle your knees away from you, back together, back in. Try that a couple of times. And try to let this movement come from your legs and your hips so your hands aren't moving your knees along, they're just coming along for the ride. And you can circle the other way a couple of times. Okay, let's let this one go. Go back to the first leg we worked with. So keep that one in. Place the other foot down on the ground. So the other knee is bent. And then stretch this leg up towards the ceiling. We're not going to use the strap this time. All we're going to do is go into external rotation. Point your toes out to the side and then bend your knee and bring your ankle down to cross over the other knee. Finding our figure four stretch here. And before we do anything with this, just think about pressing your knee away from you without using your hands. See how much movement you can find there. And then you can choose to stay right here where you are. Or if you like, you can bring the other foot off the ground and either hold onto the back of your leg with your hands, or if you've got a strap, you can use that. If you want to make your arms a little bit longer this way, that's a great use for the strap. And just take a couple of breaths. All right, when you're ready, we'll let this one go. Just unravel. Bring both feet back down. Maybe you want a little bit of that windshield wiper movement here with your legs. And let's do the same thing on the other side. So bring the other knee in and straighten it and go into external rotation. And then bend your knee and bring your ankle down to rest on the other knee. And start off by just trying to press your knee away from you. Now you can choose. You can stay right where you are, or you can bring the other leg in a little bit, holding on with your strap or your hands. Breathe easy here. All right, let's let this one go. Unravel. Have a moment. You can have a bit of a wiggle. You can have a bit of a stretch. You can just rest. Up to you. And now come on back to stillness for a moment and just tune in. Just notice, how do you feel? How do you feel in your body? How does your breath feel? Okay, let's do one more movement on our back before we come up to standing. So let's do a twist here on our back. First, bring one knee in towards your chest. Hold on with your hands or your hands on your strap. If you find when you hold onto your leg that your shoulders lifting off the ground, then if you have a strap, it would be great to use that so that your shoulders can stay on the ground. And then straighten the other leg so that the whole back of your leg can rest on the ground as best as you can. And now hold your bent knee with just the opposite hand or that strap in your hand. And take a moment first to check in with your shoulders. Just notice the feeling of the back of your shoulders on the ground. And now we're going to come into the twist. Bring your knee over in the opposite direction. See if you can keep your shoulders on the ground without pressing them down. Just bring your knee over only as far as you can while allowing your shoulder blades to stay on the ground. And a couple of breaths right here. And make your way back to center. Nice. Let's switch legs. Get yourself set up so that you can hold this knee with your strap or just your hand. So the opposite hand is holding the knee. Shoulder blades can stay easy on the ground, and bring your knee over into the twist when you're ready. We'll stay here for a few breaths. And let it go when you're ready. Bring both knees in again. Have a little hug. Maybe rock side to side. And then come all the way over to your side. And nice and slowly come all the way up to a seat. And we're going to come all the way up to our feet. So take your time, really, really nice and slowly make your way up. Okay. Once you're up, we're going to move some of our props out of the way. The only thing we're going to use is one yoga block, or if you've got a chair, you can use that as well. So you can have this nearby. Okay. So come to standing anywhere on your mat where you're comfortable. Rest your arms by your side. Stand so that your feet feel comfortable and steady and supportive. And just breathe. Feel your feet on the ground. And as you inhale, bring both arms up. Bring your palms to touch at the top. As you exhale, trace your hands down the center line of your body. Let's do that 2 more times. Moving with your breath if you like, inhaling to lift and exhaling to lower, but you can take your own pace if you prefer something different. And as you bring your arms back down, give them a bit of a shake. Let's do some shoulder circles here, just circling up and back a couple of times. And a few times the other way. Nice, let that go. Okay, so we're going to do a few standing poses. And before we do, let's play around with the forward fold. So I'm going to kind of stand to the side of me facing you to show you what we're going to try and do is first do a forward fold just by hinging at the hips. So we're not going to allow our spine to move to start off with. So I like to bring my hands to the front of my hips for this one, kind of finding where the hip creases are. And then with your feet about hip width distance apart, maybe soften your knees a little bit here and hinge at your hips. See how far you can fold forward without your spine rounding. And just try this a couple times. Fold forward, come back up. Connecting with that sense of movement happening at the hip joints. And another thing I like to do here is to bring my hands to my low back so that you can really sense when it is that you start to round your back. And it might be that your forward fold is just a tiny little thing, and that is absolutely fine. Just see what's actually working for your body today. A little bit more softness in the knees might give you a little bit more space to fold forward. Okay, come on back up. Give everything a bit of a shake out. Nice. Okay, and you can stick with that fold with your back straight, or if you know that your back's feeling okay, then you can come a little bit farther into your forward fold. This going into deep spinal flexion, folding forward this way, cannot be great if you know you have back issues, if you're dealing with something like osteoporosis. So keep that in mind and do what actually works for you. Now, if you've got your block or your chair, you can have that in front of you to rest your hands on. And we're just going to fold forward a few more times. It could be that you're keeping the straight spine position, straight back position, or it could be that you come forward as far as you can here and then curl forward a bit more. You can rest your hands on your blocks. You can reach the ground easily without kind of letting yourself hang into your shoulders. You can do that too. It's up to you. And just try it a couple times. Next time you come back up to standing, we'll stay here. Give it a bit of a shake. If your back wants any kind of movement, you can do that here. All right. Let's take that block, if you're using it, and place it towards the middle of your mat. And if you've got a chair, you can just keep it up at the front of your mat. Can be nice for a bit of balance support. What we're going to do is go back and do a few lunges like this. So if you want some balance support, you can have that nearby. All right, let's all come to standing up at the top of our mat, either right up at the top of your mat or right behind your chair if you're using it. Bring your hands to your hips. Nice. We're just going to step one foot back, coming into a simple lunge, just like this. You want the front knee to stay bent and the back leg can be more straight. Try to keep your heel up off the ground so you're not in this position. You got your toes on the ground and your heel lifted like this. Nice. Once you've found this position, and you could be in a smaller lunge, just like this, whatever feels more steady for you, feel your front foot and your back foot on the ground. Feel as if you're pressing down through your feet and hugging them towards each other at the same time. Nice. And we're going to stay here for a couple of breaths. You can keep your hands where they are. You can lift your arms up. You can bring your palms together, whatever suits you. And breathe. And then bring your hands down to your hips if they're not already there. Shift your weight forward and step the back foot forward. Thanks. Have a bit of a shakeout. Awesome. Let's do that on the other side. So shift your weight over into the other foot. Step the other one back. Lovely. Find the stance that feels steady and comfortable for you. Start by bringing your attention down to your feet, pressing down through your feet, pulling them towards each other. Feel the muscles in your legs start to wake up to support you here when you do that. Nice. Add a bit of length to your spine as if you're just standing a little bit taller. And then you could take a different arm position if you'd like. Breathe easy here. Keep your legs nice and strong. And when you're ready, bring your hands back down if they've been lifted. Shift your weight forward. Step all the way back up. Have a bit of a shakeout. Nice. All right. Standing anywhere that's comfy on your mat. Just stand with your feet about hip width distance apart. Rest your arms by your sides. Breathe. Okay, and now we're going to do some of those rotations in our legs that we did on our back before. So we're going to stand on one foot, have the other foot just hovering off the ground. So if you want to use a chair or a wall for support, you can. So start by just shifting your weight over into one leg, just hover the other foot up off the ground. Have your hands on your hips here so you can feel what's happening at your hips when you do your rotation, and then just rotate this leg. Think about your upper leg bone rotating in your hip socket as you go. You can notice if your hips want to move along with you. Can you try to allow them to stay still and just see how much you can actually move at your hip joint? Okay, set this foot down, give everything a shake. Let's do the same thing on the other leg. And now the other thing you can do, I like to have hands on front and back of the pelvis, just so you can sense another way of whether your hips are wanting to move around. It might be that your spine wants to kind of flex and round as you go. You never know. Just get curious about that and see if you can isolate this to just leg movement. All right, let it go. Have a shake. Okay, come on back up to the front of your mat, with or without your chair. We're going to do our lunges, but we're going to do them slightly differently. Instead of just doing a simple lunge like this, we're going to go into a warrior one. And I'll just briefly show you. For this one, we are going to step the foot back and have it all the way on the ground at a little bit of an angle, kind of 45-degree angle. So we're not going to do it so much that our toes are pointing out towards the long edge of the mat, just a little bit of a turnout. And we're going to start that by doing our little bit of rotation in the leg that's going to be the back leg for our warrior one. So up at the top of your mat, start by just feeling your feet on the ground and taking a breath. And then shift your weight over into one leg, hover the other foot up off the ground, and find just some external rotation. Not so much that your hips want to come with you, just see how much rotation is actually there. And now step that leg back nice and slow. Set the whole foot down on the ground. Your front leg, just the same as before, is going to be a little bit bent, kind of placing your knee over top of your ankle as best as you can. But this time you've got this little bit of external rotation in the back leg. Nice. Hands to hips. Feel your feet, press them down, pull them towards each other. Nice steady legs. And same thing. You can do a different shape with your arms if you'd like, or you can keep them right where they are. But we'll stay here for a couple of breaths. And then softly release your hands. Lean your weight forward. Step the back foot forward. Have a bit of a shake out. Maybe you want a bit of a stretch. See what your body would like right now. Come to stillness for a moment. Just pause to tune in and notice how everything feels. And let's do that warrior one on the other side. So, starting up at the top of your mat, shift your weight over to the other foot, hover the other one off the ground, add some external rotation so your toes are turned out just a touch. And then step that foot back, place it all the way down on the ground. Find a stance that is comfortable for you. You can rearrange if you need to so that you feel steady. And once you've got that, press your feet down, hug them towards each other. With strong legs, you can choose if you'd like a different arm position, you can take that now. And breathe easy. Strong legs, nice alert posture in your spine. And piece by piece, we'll let this go. Bring your hands down as they've been lifted. Shift your weight forward, step the back foot forward. Have a bit of movement. One part that you might want to move is your ankles. If you like, you can do some ankle circles or pointing and flexing. Awesome. Okay. So now we're going to put a few of those pieces that we've just been playing around with together. We're going to go into pyramid pose. They'll just really briefly show you pyramid pose. For this one, we're going to go into our warrior one like we just did, but we're going to straighten the front leg, have our hands at our hips, and add a bit of a forward fold. And just like before, when we fold forward, we're going to try and keep our back fairly straight. So I like to have my hands on hips or low back to get a bit of feedback on that. And that's what it looks like. So come on up to the top of your mat, with or without your chair. Find a steady, easy standing position to start with. And let's start like we just did, going into a warrior one. So shift your weight over to one foot, hover the opposite foot, add a little bit of external rotation. Step that foot back. Does not have to be super wide. You can be right up here. Doesn't matter. See what actually works for your body today. Once you've got this, softly straighten that front leg. Rearrange if you need to feel steady here. Bring your hands to your hips. And with some awareness in your hip creases, just start to tilt forward. Might be that you tilt forward just a touch. You might feel a real nice stretch in your legs when you do this. So don't feel like you have to come all the way down here. Just experiment. We're going to go just down and up a few times, folding forward, coming back up. So you can experiment either hands at your hips or hands on your low back. Try to prioritize exploring the movement rather than coming into a giant pose. Okay, the next time you come into your pyramid pose, we'll stay here for a breath or two. You can keep your hands on your hips. You can bring them out in kind of an airplane shape. You can bring them up overhead, whatever suits you. Take a breath. And come on back up nice and slow. Bend your front knee, shift your weight forward, step that back foot forward. Come right back up to standing. Give everything a bit of a wiggle, have some stretching, have some movement. In between sides of the pyramid pose, take a moment to just pause, tune in. How are you feeling? Okay, let's try it out on the other side. Starting from a comfortable standing position, shift your weight over into the other leg. Hover the opposite foot up, find some external rotation. Step your foot back, coming right back to your warrior one pose. Nice. Once you've got that, straighten the front leg. Hands to hips, start to explore, hinging forward. How far can you hinge forward before your spine wants to round? And I'm kind of exaggerating that movement to show you if you have your hand on your low back, you can probably feel when that rounding starts to happen. And you don't have to get it perfect, just experiment, just get curious. How much movement do you have without actually rounding your back? How much can you move at your hips in this lovely awkward shape? And can you keep your legs nice and strong as you do this? If you focus on the forward fold, are you losing some of that strength in your legs? Can you keep a little bit of that action of hugging them towards each other? All right. And if you'd like, you can come into your pyramid pose and hold it for a few breaths. You can take a different arm position if you like, or keep them where they are. We'll take a couple of breaths here. Softly coming back up when you're ready. Piece by piece, let it go. Come back to your warrior one. Shift your weight forward. Softly step forward. Shake things out. Awesome. Come on back to stillness. Take a moment to just pause and check in with yourself. Okay. And before we come back down to the ground, we'll do one more forward fold. This time we're going to do a wide leg forward fold. So if you've got a yoga block or a chair, you can have that up at the middle of the long edge of your mat. And when you're ready, just step out to a nice wide stance. Whatever suits you. Again, you can be right up here. Doesn't need to be the biggest, most giant wide leg stance. Whatever suits you. Bringing your hands to your hips, we're going to do the same two options, either keeping your back straight or coming into a bit more spinal flexion. So I always like to start off. I'm just going to turn to the side here so you can kind of see what's happening in my back here. I always like to start off with a few straight back forward folds, just hinging at the hips. Tuning in again, maybe hands on your low back can help you sense what your range of motion is here. And then if spinal flexion, if folding forward deeply is okay for your body, you can go there now. If you're coming halfway down with straight back, here's where this block is really nice and helpful. Could be that when you fold forward a little further, you'd like to use that block too. Just see what suits you. And we can go down and up a couple of times, or you can choose to come down into your forward fold and just hang out here for a breath or two. And let's all come back up to standing. Now you softly step your feet back towards each other. Come back to just standing easy. Have a bit of a shake out. Have a bit of stretching or moving, whatever you like. Okay, and we are ready to come back down to laying on the ground. So I'm gonna keep one block nearby, and if you don't have a block, you can use your blanket and just fold it up, or even roll it up a little bit so that it's kind of the same kind of shape and size as a yoga block. And what we're gonna do now is do a few movements on our back, and then we're going to go right into our resting pose. So if you would like anything to help you feel more comfortable, like your sandbag or your blanket, if you have them, then please feel free to have them nearby so that they're easy to grab when we go into our resting pose. So come on down to your back when you are ready. Once you found your way onto your back, bring your knees in towards your chest for another little hug and maybe some rocking movements if you'd like. Come back to center. Bring your big toes together. Set your hands on your knees and do a few more of those nice big hip circles. And then bring your feet back down to the ground. Have your feet about hip width distance apart. Walking your feet a little closer to your seat. So we're not way out here, we're nice and close. We're gonna lift into a bridge pose. So you want your feet to be in a nice strong position to help you lift up. Just rest your arms by your sides. Soften the backs of your shoulders so they're resting on the ground. And now press your feet down and lift your hips up away from the ground. Come on up into your bridge pose. Let's take a breath here. Try to hug your legs towards each other and imagine that you could point your tailbone right up towards your knees. And softly place yourself back down on the ground. And now we'll do our last stretch here. You can grab your block or your rolled up blanket, or you can do this with nothing at all. That's fine too. And if you have that prop, what we're going to do is lift up into the bridge pose a little bit and then place the block or the blanket underneath the back of your pelvis like this. And once you've got that in place, what I like to do is lift one or both feet off the ground, just see if that feels comfortable and supportive underneath your pelvis. All right, here is our next stretch. We're just going to bring one knee in towards our chest. Hold on with your hands or your hands on your strap if that's more comfortable. And then straighten the other leg along the ground so that your heel can rest on the ground. Awesome. Let's stay here for a few breaths. Another breath or two here. We've been doing so much flexion at the hip with our forward folds. We're kind of doing the opposite here, going into a little bit of extension. And now let's softly let this go. Bend your knee. Place your foot down on the ground. Bring the other one back down to meet it. Take a breath here in supported bridge pose. And let's switch sides. Bring the other knee in. Straighten the opposite leg. Let your heel rest on the ground. Take a few breaths right here. Maybe one more breath before we let this one go. And then softly bring both feet back down to the ground. And just arrange your feet so that they're in a nice strong position to lift your hips up again. When you're ready, push your feet down, lift your hips up, take that block away, set it off to the side, and just take a moment here, pause, tune in. How do you feel now at the end of the class? And we are ready for our resting pose. If you're comfy on your back, you can stay here. You're welcome to bring a blanket underneath your knees or under your head and stretch your legs there. You can bend your knees, but you're welcome also to be up in a seat for your resting pose or resting on your side or your belly. Just do what's actually comfortable for you. And while you get set up, I'm going to turn the lights down here in the room. And when you have found a comfortable position, just tune in to notice how you actually feel and make any little adjustments that might help you to feel even a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more supported. And then take a few deeper breaths. Maybe picture drawing your inhales all the way down to your low belly. And as you breathe a little more deeply, see if you can let go a little bit more, just softening and allowing the weight of your body to rest on the ground or your chair, wherever you're resting right now. Take a moment to just let go of any kind of effort on purpose. Give yourself permission to do absolutely nothing other than resting here for the next few minutes.